Hi there, this is Brian Choi, Managing Partner and CEO of the Food Institute. We're here in Scottsdale, Arizona, covering the IFMA President's Conference. I'm here with Mike Schwartz, SVP of Member Value. So welcome to the Food Institute program.
Great, thanks for having me. Thanks
Awesome.
for being here.
Great. So tell us, Mike, what has happened over the past 3 years, in the industry? Like, what do you see from where you sit?
Gosh, what hasn't happened over the last 3 years? I mean, we've seen this industry, the food away from home industry, evolve at an accelerated rate, right? And it's been evolving with the consumer changes and everything that was happening even pre-COVID. But I think what we've seen post-COVID, or since 2020, is consumers are wanting food even more so when they want it, where they want it, right? Technology's accelerated from the consumer standpoint. They're not just going to restaurants, they're going to grocery, they're going to convenience store. The whole industry has changed. As consumers wake up, they're not choosing, I want food service. They're saying, I want food, I want beverage, when I want it, where I want it. So we've seen that, but from how that trickles up throughout the course of the industry, technology has enabled so much change, from the way that operators, decision makers are buying product, from the way that suppliers are shipping product, from the way that distributors are working hand in hand with all their supply chain partners. I mean, our industry is so different today than it was beforehand. And I think one of the things that we've recognized and realized, from the consumer to the operator to the distributor to the manufacturer and everybody in between, is that we are so interdependent upon each other, right? And none of this stuff can happen in silos.
Got it. Well, what are the two main themes that you see here at this conference? You've touched upon it just in your previous answer, but what would you say are the top two, maybe three things that the industry is focused on right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the content that we've already heard today as it relates to some of the macroeconomic issues and challenges that are happening, and we had a fantastic session this morning, Dr. 𝗂𝗶𝗵 𝗟𝗏, to talk about what's happening overseas is directly impacting what's happening here too. And this whole, I mentioned the word interdependent or interdependency. Right. That whole theme is so clear today. We've got representation from the manufacturers, from operators, from supply chain and distribution, the service providers that enable everybody. And I think one of the things that we've talked a lot about so far, we had a cross-industry panel. We had Dot Foods, and we had Cisco, and we had 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗵, we had Shake Shack, and there was so much conversation around pre-COVID. Right. Everybody was talking to themselves, right? The manufacturers were over here, and the operators were over here, and the distributors were over here, and the realization and recognition through COVID where we need each other, right? And this whole industry is dependent upon each other. So that's been a huge theme here today, that this industry can't move forward and can't advance in silos. The industry needs a champion and needs someone to bring everybody together to be able to enhance the industry and to ultimately meet the consumer's needs in a responsible way.
Right. And you also touched upon technology as a key theme as well. So I've sat in on a couple of sessions. Technology was pretty much in every single session. So talk to us about the role of technology in changing the way operators and manufacturers and distributors, how they work together.
No, absolutely. I mean, if we think about even from the consumer standpoint, how we're ordering food now in delivery at the touch of a button with third-party delivery apps like Uber Eats or Grubhub or DoorDash. You think about it from an operator standpoint, and how because we as consumers are ordering food a certain way, the expectation now among operators and decision makers is to have a similar seamless experience. And so we're seeing so much change in the way that operators are buying product, and even the way that distributors are interacting now. We just came out of a session where we heard an independent broadline distributor talking about the mobile app that they have and how their DSRs are so reliant now on algorithms and data. And this whole concept of data and how critical that is to making decisions and also enabling transparency across the entire supply chain. So, we're hearing a lot about how data is key in everything that we're doing all the way across the value chain, and how it's going to continue to become even more important, because that's the currency, right? That's what everybody needs to own and needs to have to make more strategic and informed decisions.
Awesome. And lastly but not least, I can't ask you, leave the conversation without asking you about what IFMA stands for and how it's changing. What is the new IFMA? I heard Phil talk about the new IFMA, so what is the new IFMA?
Yeah, so the new IFMA, we're a 70-plus-year-old brand, and we're transforming ourselves here, given that the industry is evolving and changing so much. right? The association needs to also evolve with the industry. And as we've talked about, COVID, one of the biggest learnings for all of us, as I mentioned before, is that we can't be in silos.
Right.
And so, we certainly are still here for the food service manufacturer. That is not going to change, and that continues to be critical for us. But where IFMA is really going to be taking the lead as we move forward is being an inclusive community and bringing every stakeholder across the food away from home ecosystem, what we're calling. So that's the food service manufacturer, the food away from home manufacturer, that's the supply chain partner, whether it's broadline distributors or redistributors, cash and carries. It's the operators, all the way from restaurant chains to independents to all the non-commercial operations like college, university, healthcare, B&I, K through 12, et cetera. It's all the service providers, all the technology companies that are enabling everybody from a commerce facilitation and B2B technologies that are impacting everybody. There's a home for everybody at IFMA. And so in the past, we've really focused on 2 member types where we've had manufacturers and we had kind of a catch-all of what we called associate members. As we move forward, we're taking those 2 and we're expanding to 4. And so we're going to have 4 membership types where we've got manufacturers, we have operators, we have supply chain partners, and we have service provider companies. And all of, each group has a whole constituency of the ecosystem where there's a place at IFMA. And as we move forward and continue the conversations, we're all about growing our members' businesses and creating innovative solutions to drive what happens in the industry. So it's not just about meeting at conferences and having conversations, it's taking those conversations and making that and putting that into action.
Yeah.
And how are we actually going to improve and enhance our food away from home industry for the betterment of everybody?